Hey tubers and pickers, it's Drew the California Picker. Welcome back to California Pickin' and a really nice antique find in the folk art tradition. These have become folk art, but this was a working duck decoy, and it's actually a canvas skinned over cork duck decoy. And originally it looked like a football almost to me. I thought it was a football because it looked like leather. But look at that face, and look at the patina and the age on this baby. This was used for a very long time, and it's hard to say when this was, but this is probably from the 20s or 30s. I'm just guessing, but look at that. And this little stripe back here, this is, by the way, a drake, a male duck decoy. The males are always the most colorful. The females are bland gray and brown and black so that they would not stand out, and the males have these colors. This would be described as a teal-winged canvas stretched duck decoy. Now there's a thing such as a canvas back duck decoy, and I didn't know that there was actually a canvas back duck. I thought it was referring to what was the duck was made out of, but apparently there is a canvas back duck. So this might be a canvas back. Who knows? But I ain't no expert. But let's just walk around. This guy is very cool. Here we see the black tack eye, and they used these in the older ducks, and then later on they came up with the glass eye. And sometimes they have a painted eye. Now on this side you have a glass eye. So that's interesting. And I'll talk about that glass eye in just a moment. But the patina on this guy is incredible. These were utilized and used a way to make a living. So these were not shelf sitters at the time, but they had become major pieces of folk art. And recently a duck decoy sold for actually a commercially made duck decoy, not hand carved, sold for $334,000, something like that. That was a commercially made one, not hand carved, but the hand carved ones have actually attained even more than that. And I wouldn't be surprised eventually that a decoy brings $1 million. But this is not, unfortunately, this is not one of them. Let me show you the bottom. The best ones are always going to be signed, and the best ones are always, the most expensive ones are always going to be hand carved out of one piece of wood for the body, and then the neck is usually made differently or separately and married into the body perfectly and seamlessly, and that's the mark of a great carver. Here we see this lead weight down here with these rings. These duck decoys would be attached on a line, and they'd be sold in a group called a rig, and the rig would basically have, I think, about 12 ducks in them. So a dozen of these, and back in the day they were not very expensive. But the hand-carved ones have become really very valuable. And like I said, these duck decoy carvers would most of the time sign their work. And so the best ones are signed. And there's a whole list of great decoy carvers that made these great ducks. So anyways, that's one. And of course, you know I love surprises on California Pickin'. So let's see. Let's bring him a buddy. How about this? This is a very cool one. This is actually a solid-bodied duck decoy by the Mason Duck Company, and they were really the first ones to commercially make duck decoys. They were very successful, and this would be described as a pintail drake duck decoy, Mason duck decoy. Mason made several different grades of ducks. I'm going to go over 3 of them that I know of. The first is the premier grade. The premier grade duck decoy will have a little notch right here in the bill, and the bill will be separated and basically defined from the head with a little groove. And so if it's all smooth like this, it's not a Premier. And on the Premiers, they did, all hand painting and much more realistic fashioning. And you see how this head kind of just sits on top of that? I think on the really good ones. And it's also swivels, which is kind of good. You can kind of give it a little bit of a different look. This is missing an eye. Actually, it's missing both the eyes. But you see these little holes? That's from gunshots, gun pellets, because the birds would fly around these duck decoys and then the hunter would shoot them. So very often these guys were damaged and filled in with putty, etc., and repainted over the years because they were just utilized to death. Let me show you some close-ups of the patina. It's just incredible. Now this one might have been repainted. You can see the 3 different pieces of wood that's made from. And then these crafters at Mason Duck Company would kind of refine them and paint them, etc. But the Mason commercial ducks have actually done amazingly well. As I said, the world record for the Mason, the top-selling Mason duck was 354,000 or so. I do remember that figure. It could have gone up since then. But then I wanted to show you, hold on a second, let me put him on the side. I want to show you the bottom. This is signed with an S. And I don't know what the S stands for. Is that standard grade? Because I hear you got Premier, you got Challenge grade, and you got, I guess, standard grade. So this might be a standard grade, but however, I don't think it is. I think it might be a challenge grade, but I ain't no expert. I never went duck hunting, so I'm sure you guys out there recognize these kind of duck decoys. And if you do, leave some comments, correct me about anything. I love to learn about new things. All right, guys. So let's go to this. Hold on a second. I have a glass eye that I wanted to put in there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this on camera, but the glass eye would go right in there. Well, anyways, there's the glass eye. I think it's a little too big for this duck. And the Premier grade duck would have a glass eye, and then the lesser grades would have basically a black tack or painted eye. And painted eye was probably the least valuable. However, today it's probably more valuable because there's less of them. So anyways, I thought you'd like that. As far as values, it's really tough to say. I ain't no expert, as I said. But this guy had these looked at by a decoy expert. They said this was about $50 to $75, probably. Nice shelf sitter. The guy didn't really give me a value on this, but he told me that it was a Mason, that it could have been repainted. And so that's tough to say exactly what this is going to go for, but it could go from anywhere from $100 to, who knows, $900 if to the right person, but probably more in the $100 to $400 mark, all depending on how I market it and who I market it to. So I'd be happy with any of that. That's fine, but they're just great shelf sitters, and I think I will sell that one and possibly keep this one. Who knows, but it's just pretty cool. I might get rid of this one also. Anyways, if you like the video, please share on Google+, Facebook, and leave your comments. Hit like. Let me know what you think about duck decoys or folk art. You like this sort of thing? Anyway, keep on picking. Cheers now.